I'm Phyllis Tickle, and I'm here talking with Pete Rollins. You're UK, well, you're Ireland, but obviously. We in this country who are part of the Emergence movement, or who are at least observers of it or watchers of it, tend to be very parochial and tend to think of this as if it were an American or North American phenomenon. And you and I both know it's not. Can you say sort of briefly what's happening in the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, well, in your part of the world?
Absolutely.
The whole thing, as a historian of this movement or whatever it is we're going through, it seems to me that in North America we're 25 to 30 years behind where, for instance, you and Ireland are, or the UK, or New Zealand, or Australia, because we secularized a little later, for good reasons in the last century. But can you talk about some of the differences, and maybe some of the tensions even that are inherent within the UK part of the movement, if they are there, as they are here in this country already? We're beginning to get some tensions.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of the rest of the world, I know we've been kind of exploring these themes for a while. The alternative terms were alternative worship in the early 90s.
And fresh expressions is a nice place to dump at least part of it, the UMC and the state church.
And interestingly, I mean, when Icon started, we gave it 5 coordinates, kind of a way to understand what we were doing, and the coordinates were icons: iconic, apocalyptic, heretical, emerging, and failing. And so we put the word emerging in there, but we'd never heard of the emerging church or the emerging conversation. And we were surprised that about a year later we started getting asked to this emerging conferences. Who knew these things existed? You know?
The first time in this country that term is used is in 1970, when Larson and Osborne actually do a book called The Emerging Church. And I read it the other day just to be sure. It's downright prescient if you put it back for us 38 years. And I think we just didn't realize.
Well, you see, there's something in the air.
It's
like a coldest condition. And we were in Ireland, completely divorced from everything going on in the UK and the rest of the UK and in America and Australia and New Zealand. But we were catching the cold. The virus was going around, and so we realised that without even knowing it, we were experiencing the same conditions and exploring the same thinking. And actually, at the time, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. What I've done now is I've made justifications for everything I do. I can justify everything I've done, but at the time I didn't have a clue. It's retroactive justification. You live life forward and you reflect on it backwards, as Kierkegaard says. So we were just playing and realised other people are playing and coming to the same conclusions and in the same kind of in the same place as we are. So it's very exciting. I think one of the keys for me was when I realised that Christianity is more of a wrestling and a journey and a transformation, and not trying to nail down some correct answer. I love the story of the rabbi. This young guy comes to him and says, I want to learn the logic of the Hebrew people and the logic of God. And the guy says, go away, you're too young, He says, no, I know Aristotelian logic, I know symbolic logic, I want to know Hebraic logic. So the rabbi says, I'll test you, I'll ask you a question. He says, okay, 2 guys come down a chimney, one has soot in their face, one doesn't. He says, who washes their face? The young guy says, the guy with the soot in his face. The rabbi says, of course not, the guy without the soot. He looks at his friend, realises his friend's got soot in his face, thinks I've got soot in my face. So the guy goes, okay, test me again. The rabbi says, I'll ask you a different question. 2 guys come down a chimney. The bottom of the chimney, one has soot in their face and one doesn't. Who washes their face? And the guy says, well, the guy without the soot in his face. And the rabbi says, don't try to be clever, of course not. The guy with the soot in his face, he feels it in his eyes, tastes it in his mouth, sees it on his hands. Don't be so stupid. And finally, the young guy goes, sorry. He says, test me one more time. The rabbi says, one more question. 2 guys come down a chimney. The bottom of the chimney, one has soot in their face and one doesn't. He says, who washes their face? And the guy says, the first person, but for different reasons. And the rabbi says, go away. He says, they both wash their face. How can you not come down a chimney and not think you've got soot in your face, And I love this story because I think it captures the logic of the Judeo-Christian tradition, that it's about wrestling and fighting and not about somehow pinning down the right answer.
That's right. It is that whole business of some sort of right reading of the text,
which is
that has informed the last 500 years. Well, it has informed more than that, but certainly when we say we're post-Protestant, we really are talking about that as much as anything. I love, in whatever it is that this thing is that we can't quite name, I love the playfulness, but I love the fact that the playfulness almost always leads to wisdom. I mean, that's good playfulness in the way that kids play in order to arrive at some truth that's not a thing.